the beauty of this journey, it's the collaboration. Collaboration between you and us, and collaboration between yourselves. Now we have gotten to a point where we want to bring you into another form of collaboration. And the collaboration is we are giving you just some very simple one-page story to collaboratively translate. Okay? You will not do it alone. You will do it with somebody else. But if you don't have someone who speaks your language, like I know Sahara, she might end up doing this by herself because she doesn't have, but we have people who speak other languages. So, do you want to pick? We have two stories. We have one story, which is from Things Fall Apart. So it's just a one page. And then we have something from the Bible. Tunaelewana? Yeah. So what we shall do, we will not ask you, we will get a team. One group will do the Bible one, and another group will do the Things Fall Apart one. So that you have, tomorrow you can share some of that, the experience, and how you went about it. Tunani nataka kuanza? Okay, then let's go to the okay, very good. Wacha tuende kwa Siwa. Beverly. Acha tuanze kwa Siwa, halafu tutakuja kwa Beverly.
The decisions that I made based on the names of the clan, then the characters. That was the main objective that I saw. I have to bukusu, to make them bukusu. But in mind, to bukunize. But in mind, I had whatever you said yesterday, that we have to be loyal to the origin of the story. And I borrowed what Nganga did about the sounds, that is the sounds that are not in my language. I replace them with the sounds that are there. For example, the Umofia Kwenu. Umofia Kwenu. Umofia is the tribe, the clan. And in our tribe, every clan you start with Ba. So I wrote Ba Mofia instead of Umofia. Because Ba Mofia. Then I also changed the way the man bellowed. Ba Mofia Kwenu, I said Ba Mofia Mulio. That means Ba Mofia, are you there? Then they responded, we are there. The other thing is about the name Ogubefu is Zegu. In my language, Z is absent and G. Z, we use S. And G, it's K. So I said Esuko instead of Ezugo. Ogbefu, I said Okwefu, Okwefi. Yeah.
We are going to look at that anger, that issue of shouting with anger and thirst for blood. As in, it shows the extreme anger that these people had because of what had just happened. Then another issue we had is about medicine men and the magic. You know, when you talk of a medicine man and the magic, you may end up thinking it is all about witchcraft. But you can differentiate between a medicine man for the purposes of healing and a magician for the purposes of causing havoc. So I tried to differentiate that.
I maintained the house of Ogbuefu I said, inyumba ya ogbuefu. I tried to maintain. And also the part of he faced a different direction and seemed to push the air with a clenched fist. So I translated, I said, yal linga imberi inyuma, like he looked in front, backwards and sideways, and then he shouted. And then and then also at the end, whereby they are asking for the fine, I just maintained they wanted omusiani wesi sacha de omuhana. The omuhana. I maintained it just like that.
So I keep telling you I speak these languages and you just take it for granted. I dance with these languages right, left, center. Sawa, endelea.
Yes.
Oh, that is good. I think
Yeah.
so you took the text, you owned it. You created a text that actually speaks to your environment.
Yes. Like try to make meaning to the environment.
So if you presented this text to your community, they will actually relate to it.
Yes.
They'll not see it as an Igbo story.
Yes.
Yeah. Sawa, wacha tuende kwa Ajiambo.
So the Wangas will have Abawanga. Then we don't have an S, it's a sh. Yeah, so for Eshuko, Ekuvufi. Yeah, so it gets to pull your tongue. Then I was looking at, if you know the Abawanga people, we have their clans. Their women are known to be very radical. They're the ones who will get possessed. Huh? So this part, I actually didn't make him be like the one possessed when he pointed out to Mbaino, because there is the Vivo Namala, Yamala Estanda Somwami, meaning that the women were the ones who used to act possessed, and they actually confused the white men, yeah, for the Abawanga. So I didn't make him do the possession, so he just pointed to the direction. Then in the crowd, we had the women do the possession, as if they were being possessed. Yeah, that's what I changed.
So you engage the culture, so that whereas in the Igbo culture, the men can get possessed.
Yeah.
In the Abawanga,
the women, the men are supposed to be steady and firm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's only expected with the women.
So this is it's a kind of cultural. It's a transfer of a cultural practice. Just as I was discussing yesterday, you know, that in the marriage ceremony, when you are confronted by a story written from central Kenya, you domesticate it culturally,
yes,
and
that
you do the same thing so that it speaks to you. Okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, so that was the thing.
Very interesting. Did you see this cultural transfer? That it is not the men, it's not the men getting possessed, whereas the story itself is actually the men being possessed. In the Avawanga version, it's the women getting possessed. So you still have fidelity to the original. You are still faithful to the original, but you are doing a cultural transfer, you know, and adaptation, so that you speak to your target,
Audience.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did, especially in the second line, we had a phonological adaptation of the word Ogbuefi. So on our side, it's in Ikegusi, it's Ogbuebi. And then the second name, which is Ezeugo, because we don't have the Z, it's Ezeugo. And then later, there is in this first paragraph, his white head. So for us, we have one name, and that's Chimbuche. Now, when you talk of Chimbuche, it's like the silver hair. So by just mentioning Chimbuche, the implication of the whiteness, so like we couldn't just translate word per word. We couldn't say white hair, so we used yeah. And then again, in the second paragraph, we had a challenge in, there's an expression there, to sweep the crowd. Yeah? He threw his head down and gnashed blah blah, to sweep the crowd. So when we were looking at the sense in which the word to sweep the crowd is like expressed, what is really this guy is intending, we had to
like have a different phrase in phrasing, which is not directly word per word. So, and it read like, yeah,
Escape.
agatureka omotwe. So that's instead of it through the head. So we used in English. If we translate that to English, agatureka omotwe, it will be he twisted his head. So like to maintain the sense. And then the one I was talking about is Elio aganchira okomonya kuobororo bwaye bwabisekanete gochenche ebirengerero byabo.
How can you just do every Okay, we will come to that. We'll come to that.
Yes. And lastly, there is a word there, an emotional, and in a clear and emotional voice. So that word, an emotion, in our Kegusi, when you are asking someone like who is feeling unwell, you ask someone, if we can translate directly those words, it would be like nakioiwete. The word okoiwa is also the same as hearing. So, and in this case, if we were to use that expression, then in a way it could have distorted it. So there's another expression which in English will mean thinking, but then in Ekegusi it again still implies some elements of feeling. So we found it to be a little bit accurate, and therefore we chose it.
In our language, we don't have the ze. So for me, I decided to just leave the names as they are for two reasons. One, so that perhaps the Somali reader who will encounter this text will know that this book is from, this story that they're reading in Somali is from Achebe's text. And two, I couldn't find the equivalent of the name in the community. I translated the Umofia Kwenu as the loose word I could find close to it was like Tula. Tula is a setup, like where a community resides. So I said the Tula, Umofia, like the Tula comes before the word of the place. One thing that I found interesting is how we almost share the same cultural concept of the virgin as a compensation, or the war. I think I can even give this personal recount. My grandfather was killed by a different tribe in our community. Not tribe, different clan. The tribe is one, but then there are different tribes. When I was 5 years old, of course I didn't know then, but now I know. So he was, the other tribe invaded his homestead and then they killed him. And then of course there are certain guidelines in the community and they decided to go the Maslaha way. So when a male is killed, it's 100 camels are given in exchange for the life that is lost. When it's female, it's 50. I don't even know why, don't ask me please. In addition to the 100 camels that the different tribe brought into, the different clan brought into our clan, a daughter was given so that this bitterness ends. It's believed that when she comes into the family and marries and she gives birth to your sons and daughters, that bitterness ends, like it doesn't go on for long or ages. So that lady is still much alive in our community. She has, I think, like 13 kids with whoever she married into, and that rivalry ended there. So that was interesting for me because I realized that it's the same thing. Also, the other different, it's one thing I had noticed. Oh, the men being possessed also. That was an interesting concept. In our community also, it's the women who get possessed by the spirits. But what I found interesting is that in this case, I couldn't use the women because when it comes to, this kind of anger of you've killed our people and this revenge thing, it's men who are involved. It's women don't get involved in such kind of businesses. Their possession is just, I think maybe when it comes to the culture of the spirit, something we call ruhan. Perhaps you may understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just retained the setting as it is by just, and then I translated. Maybe if you don't mind, just for the sake of making...
Can I tell you something?
Yes, sure.
I know about Hurulaini, so it's all right. I know. So many of these people have never had a Somali text read.
That is what I wanted to suggest. If you
Please
don't mind, I
do
can
it.
read the first paragraph for you people.
Please do.
Okay. We have a lot of, what is it called? The sound that comes from beneath the throat. Yes. So, msishangae mkusikia hizo maana. So I'll read the first paragraph only. Waberigi is that early morning, in the morning. Wagberigi suuqa wuxuu la circiraayay farbadnida dadka. Ugu yaraan waxaa halka ku sugnaay 10,000 rag ah. Ugu yaraan waxaa halka ku sugnaay 10,000 rag ah, kuwaasoo ku sheekeynaya codad hooseeya. Ugu dambeyn, Ogbuefi ayaa dadkii ka dhex kacay oo ku dhawaaqay cod sare. Tuuladiini Omofia dhowr mar ayaa wada ku celceliyay asagoo kolbana dhan eegayo, like the looking sideways, back, forth, oo gacantiisa aad moodo inuu feer duubtay oo kor u taagayo, the clenched fist. Mar walba wuxuu u hadlaa wax uu jawaabaya 10,000 rag meesha joogay oo ku lahaa haya. Kadib waxaa xigay aamus dheer, the long silence. Was it the perfect silence? So for me, I used long silence, like. Ogbuefi wuxuu ahaa aftahan cod kar dheer. Mar walbana waxaa loo xulan jiray inuu ka hadlo munaasabadayaan oo kale. Gacantiisa ayuu madaxiisa iyo qaadkiisa ciroobay oo iyo garkiisa. We have the accents that somehow differ, like the northern Somalia say gadkisa. They have the da thing, and then for the other standardized Somalis we say garkisa to mean the beard. So gadkisa, in this case I used the gad, I don't know for why.
Using the standard form,
yes.
because it's mutually recognizable would be the better option.
Yeah, but when I'm reading it sounds weird to me because I'm used to saying gar every time. So iyo gadkiisa ciroobay dul mariyay, kadib wuxuu toosistay shaalkiisa sii dhacay oo intuu soo qabtay garbaha kala ritay. That's the first paragraph.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely. I can't wait to read Things Fall Apart in Somali. I hope that one day you will translate all of it. Yeah, because it's such a powerful story. Good. Haya, Ole.
I also translated this text to Ma, and I was also able to play around with first of all with the names. The name Ogbuefi Ezeugo, because all the names in Ma, all or most, but in fact all of them, except in recent cases, they start with Ole, like Ole Reya is my father. But for me, I did not become a Moran because the name is usually given when a person becomes a Moran. So I was in school all that time. So Ogbuefi Ezeugo, I called it Olebuefi Les Seugo. So Olebuefi, and because we don't have a Z, the second name is Ezeugo, I call it Le Seugo, meaning now Olebuefi, the son of Seugo. I also had Mbaino. I translated to Ilmeino. And based on the description by the narrator of Mbaino, being adversaries with Umuofia, And based on Olebuefi Leseugo's description of that particular clan, calling them sons of wild animals, and contrasting with how the other clan has been portrayed, that is Umuofia, their prowess in wars. That name, Mbaino, now the name that adopted Ilmeino means those who are, for example, a child who is born out of wedlock. Ilmeino, and those just to bring out their, I can say, timidity, although now implied timidity as opposed to the prowess of that other clan. And Umuofia, the name Umuofia, I took it as Ilmotiani, because first we don't have an F in Ma. And Ilmotiani means those who carry quivers, those particular things for storing arrows. Is what is called a Motian. So Ilmotiani means those who carry the quivers. And that one also, I think, brings out that particular history of Umuofia being very vile, so to speak, in terms of war. Ultimatum, I found a word ultimatum, but it is the English equivalent of a notice. And I hope I was also quite correct there. And when it comes to clothing, for example, there's a place that said he then adjusted his cloth, which was passed under his right armpit and tied above his left shoulder. So I substituted cloth for the shuka that is worn by, mainly worn by men in my community. And now there is a place where that Umuofia Kwenu, which was being bellowed by Olebuefi Leseugo, I took it as a greeting, as if he was greeting his fellow Umuofians. And now the one that I adopted was, of course, replacing Umuofia with Ilmotiani, and Kwenu with the equivalent of greeting in Ma, which is Ilmotiani, enter super. And they would reply with, instead of ya, or rather even soup or ipa. So that is how I was able to do that translation. And because Jane raised up this issue of, is it called reparations, that being paid for that loss, in my community they used to pay 49 cows. And in my text, I just say that I translated that they were asked to pay for the daughter killed with a young man and a virgin. And I just thought, because Jane raised this issue, is it okay to say that they were asked to pay for the daughter killed, not with 49 cows, but with a young man and a virgin? Yeah, thank you.
Majina ya Kinigeria sikuyabadilisha. Sababu ni kwamba nilitaka pia yule msomaji wa aidha Kiswahili ama Kiduruma ajue kwamba hadithi hii ilikuwa inatoka Nigeria. Kwa hivyo majina ya bebe asili ya Nigeria. Alafu kuna kama salutation word hapa, ile inasema Umuofia Kwenu. Ni kama kwetu neno kama hili tunasema kwamba ni Umuofia mubaba. Yani watu wa Umuofia, ama jamii ya Umuofia mko hapa? Alafu wanajibu mubaba. Badala ya kwao Kinigeria sisi tunasema mubaba. Alafu mambo ya ile adabu ambayo inatozwa jamii wakati wanapoua mtu. Sisi hicho kitendo tunasema tunatoa kore. Kore, tunatumia neno kore kumaanisha kwamba ni neno ambalo linatumika kuashiria kwamba unatoa adabu baada ya kuua kiumbe kwa jamii fulani. Na kore tunatoza ng'ombe 100. Hii ng'ombe 100 tunatoza jamii ile yote, watu wote wa jamii hiyo ambao ni kama adabu. Tunatoza kila mmoja katika jamii hiyo ni lazima atoe mchango wake, kwa sababu ya kuepuka mambo kama hayo yaweze kutendeka katika jamii hiyo. Kwa hivyo ni kama punishment na pia ni kama fidia pia. Na maneno kama omofia na mbaino, hizi nimeziweka kama jamii. Hizi ni jamii mbili. Wenye walikuwa wameuliwa mtu wao ni wa Amofia. Sasa kikwetu mimi nitawaita mbari ya Amofia, mbari ya Amofia. Yaani jamii ya Amofia. Wakati na tafsiri nasema mbari ya Amofia. Nadhani mnanielewa vizuri. Na ile mbari nyingine ya mbaino nitasema tu mbari ya ambaino. Mbari ya ambaino. Kiswahili jamii ya ambaino. Na tukija upande wa kidevu. Kidevu sisi tunakiita Kiswahili ni kidevu, alafu Kiduruma ni cheru. 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 Kwa hiyo nadhani tu ni mambo ambayo, hayo ndo ni baadhi ya mambo ambayo nimeorodhesha kwa ufupi tu, na naona nimemaliza.
For the greeting, I retained the term umofia but changed kwenu. So I said umofia muriaro is a form of greetings. Then there is a statement that says, those sons of wild animals have dared to murder a daughter from Umofia. So in my community, you cannot call them those sons of. So I decided to put it as Nyamuisio Siando. Then we came across the term ultimatum, which is not so specific in the tribe. Took it as notice. Nikasema ndomerere egekinya. Compensation, I still retained the same term as it is in the text.
What is compensation in Kiambu?
Compensation, korevereria.
Korevereria. Korevereria. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Asante. So most of the things, it's like we were in agreement. Sons of wild animal. In Meru, I use the word biti. Biti kwa kawaida ni kama haina, but when you umekasirika na mtu and you want to show that amefanya kama mnyama kitendo cha ukatili, we use the word mbiti.
Mbiti, you know? but mbiti is very specific to hyena.
It's specific to hyena, but when expressing emotions, like hapa wanasema wild animals, although I was in agreement with the Kikuyu and Embu, we use Nyamoyushianto.
Because you also do that in Kemero, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do have the expression Nyamoyushianto. We even call people Nyamo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we call them Nyamo, but most of the time, I find where I come from, we use the word mbiti, mbitieu.
Okay.
Okay, for the naming, for Obwefi, I nilidondosha G. So the G was absent, because in Meru it's hard to find a name G, consonant G followed with consonant B. So I ignored the G part, bearing in mind it's silent. And then Ezego, I went with it the way it is. Omofia kwenu, nilisema Omofia bweku, are you there? And then they agreed Ituĩka. So the other thing that ilinichanganya kidogo is for the medicine man and for the priest. So the priest is Atomeri, but I was wondering, do we really have, ile ya kuhubiri? So I generalized it and I used Aragori. Aragori iko na medicine men na hao watu wanafanya magic and everything, so I generalized it and ignored the priest. And for the virgin, there are 2 words. So one of them I wasn't comfortable using it. There was this word mokenye, which can also mean a girl who is not circumcised and also a virgin. So I ignored it. I used, finally, after referring to the Bible, Virgin Mary, I used karaiti, which is not that common kwa mazungumzo ya kawaida, but for the Mukenya can have many meanings.
But Mukenya is an uncircumcised girl.
Yeah, it is an uncircumcised girl, I guess, who is a virgin.
But you can say Gadirange.
Gadirange.
So you have that?
Yeah.
Yes. And does it mean Gadirange virgin in Kemero?
The one I'm sure is Karaiti, I think.
Karaiti.
But
okay.
But
You can do a little more research, eh?
I'll do more research on that one. So for the garnishing the teeth, nilipata maneno mawili, gukabakaba na kudia. So I went with gukabakaba maigo.
Yeah, gukabakaba?
Maigo.
Maigo.
Okay.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job, guys. Good job, guys. Yeah.
And so the names really had to change. I had to change them. These kind of people may not really even conceptualize a name like that, or even understand. So, and then they are difficult. You remember there is the question of consonants, and in our language we do not have consonants like a G and a B following one another. In fact, even a B cannot form a syllable with a vowel on its own. So because of that, I went for the easiest names that can be found and that almost sound the same as what is given here, such that Ogbofi became Bevi, and then that other name, Zeugo something, became Nzengo. I had the option of using Kisengo because that sounds as. And then there was the greeting also. You realize in this culture, I don't know whether I interpreted wrongly, but you are told there were people in the marketplace. The marketplace was filled with people, but there were 10,000 men. And in the greeting, you realize even in the answering, the women, and we assume they were there because the first statement there says the marketplace was filled with people. But the men are the ones like talking after. As soon as we start greetings and going forward, the men are not, women are not appearing. So now I had to find a way of doing the Kikamba greeting, which is Ana Asama Mwevia Mwevo. Ana Sama Mwevia. That can be a clan, can sound like a clan in Ukambani. Mwevia. Mwevo. Then they answer Ituĩka. And inaendelea hivyo. So those names. And then the other thing that was a little tricky for me was this clear and emotional voice. That one was tricky. Yes, and then there is the clan Mbaino. So that one would not sound like anything familiar, so it became Mbano, because Mbano means marks in Kikamba. Mbano is also the plural form of narratives, stories. Yeah, so that name, it can even be the name of a person. So that one became Mbano. And then the priests in Ukambani, we had Athembi. Those two Kuthemba, those are priests. In fact, it's the same name used for the Catholic priests. But there used to be Athembi among Wakamba. But there were also these people, the medicine men. Those were Athani. Athan, like, if you know the story of Syokimau. But I need time to go and really think about the medicine men part of it. I'm not so sure.
Because the word you are using is almost like Asiya.
Asiya.
Yeah. Because you
like Syokimau.
Yeah, he could see ahead.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes. There's a small difference somewhere, I think, but I wasn't able to really confirm which is which. But I know there could be a word really that would stand for the medicine men. But this word, magic is actually there. So there's actually a word for Kikamba. That one I didn't struggle with is ek ma siama kana kweka siama, because that used to happen. I think in our wars with Masais those times, without offending.
How do you call the person who treats you with herbal medicine?
That one is I really want to find that word because sababu sikuweza kuifikia.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I was just saying without wanting to offend Ole Kapante, when Wakamba wa huko Makueni used to go to war with Masais from hiyo side ya nafikiri ni Kajiado, there is some magic they used to do. So Wamasai wanakuja and then they I don't know how they used to koroga their akili. So wako tu hapo na mishale inarushwa piga. Yeah, so I'm trying to explain the issue of magic that was there. So that is the much I was able to do.
So what we did with the names, we didn't change. We couldn't even find equivalents because Z doesn't exist. We don't have names that start with vowels. So it was difficult. No? I know Peter had suggested one or two names, but I left my names, intact. The Umofia, the Zaugo, and all that. Yeah. Let me see one other thing. Yeah. And I think some of the things. I think it was very interesting working together. The five of us, because we had so many things that we agreed on, so many, and it was also very interesting that we could get stuck, and then Ganga says something in Kikamba, and then we try to think about it in our languages as well, yeah, and then come to a conclusion. So it was very quite interesting. I mean, it happened with all of us here. 1, 2, 3. Those sons of wild animals, I think I agree with Naomi and Doreen as well. No, Nyamushi Osiado, I think we have that in common. Threw his head down, is the same. Kainama, no, bald head, Kuinama as well. Yeah. But I was also thinking in terms of Umofia Kwenu, which we didn't translate, and I was thinking right now when we are talking here, yeah, like if I could, Kikuyunize that, no, probably I would say Umofia Thai, and the people respond Thai, because that's a greeting that happens, like in, But when I did this, I didn't change any of that, There's one or two interesting things that we did as well. The perfect silence, we used a very some serious Kikuyu there. They say "Go kiria giria," the perfect silence. Talking about the cloth, we used a very specific Kikuyu cloth, so we didn't say guo, no, we just said gedi, because it's like what he did with the shuka, no. Some difficult words like smile. I don't think we have an equivalent, in our languages. How do you say smile? I don't know. But Kwenga, yeah. So we decided to come Kwenga kamwegere, funny smile or something like that. I wasn't very sure about that. Ultimatum. I think if I was translating this, I would have needed a copy of this book by John Beatty, African Religions and Philosophy, yeah? Because when you're talking about magic, priest, medicine men, it was quite confusing, yeah? Yes, we say Moragoli, Adoago, magic, I don't think, magic, was there a word that an equivalent? No, we couldn't, magic, but I think John Beatty's book talks about some of these things, when talking about African religions, yeah. And the virgin, I think we decided to go with Gadirage, although the Bible talks about Thigi, but I think Gadirage has more cultural context, more than Thingi, as it is in the Bible, the Virgin Mary. And I think the last one, the Kikuyu culture, we didn't have priests, but I know in the Bible it talks about priest, the Jerry guy, but amongst the Kikuyu we didn't have priest, yeah. So we just left it there as Aragoli Naduago, just like that, yeah. But magic and priest were some of the words that we found it very difficult to get some equivalents. Yeah. And the last one, yeah, I think that was that. Unemotional. Difficult words to translate, but we decided to go with, how did we say it? Unemotional, let me see. Mugabota na marakara kana gekeno. Yeah, so we are just there. It does not display any emotions, yeah. I think that's how we decided to. Compensation at the end of the day, yeah, compensation is a word I was asking Peter in the morning, and he told me horohio. I don't know. Some research we need to do on such words. Thanks.
So for me, it was really interesting trying to translate the Bible. Like the first paragraph of these, is the first or the second one after the king part, because this is where the whole story is being set. They're introducing like each and every character that is going to be involved in this story, and then you find that their relationships change. Like the guy is first introduced as the guy, and then there is his concubine, and then there is the concubine's father, and then there is a servant, and then these guys to interact with. So it was really, ilikuwa ngumu kidogo to like try and establish that. And then also I had trouble with, first of all, the word concubine, because when the guys are concubine, and then later on, the guy who welcomes them in the house also has a daughter who was a concubine. So trying to, how do I translate these two concubines? Because one, for me, I think the guy's concubine is like, in Sheng would call her klande, which is, yeah, it is, yeah. So that is klande. But how do I translate the daughter's concubine. Because for me, I was thinking that the daughter's concubine is more of like a maid. So that is how I tried to approach that. And also in terms of, the guy also has a servant. So how do I translate the servant? Because for him, I don't think like the male servant is more of a maid, but I thought of the male servant is more of like mtu mkono, someone to just help him around, do a few things. So that is one of the things that I struggled with. And also trying to translate something like son-in-law or parents. In Sheng, I don't think there's a collective word for parents. There's more of like father, mother, but to get parent, I think it's difficult. We still say, no, it's not shemeji. Maparo, shit. Nashanguli ni slipaji. Yeah. Thank you for that. Because it really communishinda niliandika wazazi. Yeah. And also son-in-law. Yeah, because I've even highlighted them in yellow. And also, so one of the interesting parts about this is also trying to translate how the old guys in this story speak in Sheng. Because it is interesting, because for me, when I'm doing the first draft of the translation, I was thinking like a young guy. So there's like a part where this guy is introducing himself to these people, and I wrote, Arada, kwani mnaishi wapi, mmetoka wapi, mnaenda wapi? And then later on when I was reading through, I was thinking, no, an old man wouldn't say Rada to like a greeting to other people, but a younger person would say Rada to like other people. So that is also one thing that I was trying to look at. How do older people, if they're speaking Sheng, how would they speak it? Would it be more radical like the younger people, or would it be a little bit softer for like the older people? So yeah, that was my experience trying to translate this. Now to the reading part. The title I titled it to Mlevite na klande wake, because I was thinking about that. I almost put it to Mlevi, and then I thought, no, it would lose meaning. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the whole, whether they are old or young, wote ni watu wa Sheng. This is the Sheng world. Kwa hivyo hata wazee wanazungumza nini?
Sheng. Okay.
Yeah. Kwa hivyo unawapatia.
Okay.
Levite na
klande wake. Hizo madays Israel haikuwa na king. Kulikuwa na Mlevite mjamo kutoka za Ephraim huko juu milimani. Alijikwachulia klande kutoka Bethlehem huko Juda. Lakini huo klande wake alienda kumcheza. Akamtoka karudi kwa maparo wake huko Bethlehem, saiza Juda. Baada ya huko miezi 4 hivi, hazi wako wake alitokea kwao na punda zake 2 na mtoke wa mkono kujaribu kumsuka rudi mtaa na yeye. Ngoko alipomcheki alipewa kijani kwa maparo wake, na budake alinaisniaje after kukutana na huyo hazi wako wake. Akamchapia tulie kiasi. Sasa huyo mmoja akatulia mtaa kwa siku 3 akidishi, aikata maji na kituna. Siku 4 vilifika, huo mmoja alirauka mangware na kujitayarisha kujiondoa. Lakini buda mtu wake akadaisha son-in-law, situjichangamshe na samu ya kudishi alafu ndo jitoe. So mara ya mtu mbekse ikakaa down kudishi na kukatawaba pamoja. Na vile huo morio alijaribu kujiondoa kwa scene, huo mzee akamsikizia, baki leo tuserereke. So akauma mizizi hiyo usiku. Vile alirauka asubuhi ya siku ya 5 kujiondoa, huo mzee akamchapia tena, jichangamshe kiasi alafu utoke majioni. So hiyo mara ya mtu mbekse ikatulia kudishi pamoja tena. Lakini time huo the man, klande wake na mtoke wa mkono alijaribu kujiondoa, huo mzee akadaisha tena. Cheki, siku inakaribia kuisha na giza inaingia. Simkeshe tu hapa, tulieni mserereke. Kesho mangware mnaweza rauka mjiondoe mrudi mtaa yenu. Lakini huo moyo jua kwa idha kutulia tena hiyo zabe. Usiku nyingine tena alitia akajiondoa yeye pamoja na punda zake 2, ngoko wake na mtu wa mkono akaanza kukanyaga kubwa akienda side za Jebus. side za Jebus. Hiyo ndio jina wadhi walikuwa na rada nayo Jerusalem hiyo time. Giza ilikuwa inaingia. Giza ilikuwa inaanza kuingia vile hiyo mraia ilikuwa inakaribia Jebus. Mtu wa mkono akachapia dosi. Master, si tumemizizi na ukesha hii mtaa ya Majebusite. Lakini master wako akatiazia, akadaisha. Hatutaingia jiji yenye mraia si wana Israeli. Tutakanyaga hadi Gibea au Rama, tutadozi moja hizo mtaa. So ikabaki wamezidi kanyaga. Giza ikawapata wakikaribia Gibea, mtaa Benja. I think it's Benjamin or something. Hapo ndio waliamua kutulia wakitafuta mahali pa kukesha. Najua kuna mwenye aliwaweli kikwao, ikabaki wameenda kukula vako katikati ya hiyo jiji. Lakini hiyo jioni kulikuwa na mzai fulani kutoka tu hiyo mtaa yao ya Ephraim mwenye alikuwa anapoa hapo Gibea. Wale hiyo mtaa walikuwa wanajulikana kama Mabenjamites. I think it's written Benjamites or something, yeah. So I wrote Mabenjamites. Yani wase wa Benja, and then yeah, I think it's written to translate like the collective name of guys for Benjamin. So it was wase wa Mabenja. Mabenja is many Benjamins together. So I decided to say yani wase wa Benja. Huo mzaa alikuwa ametoka kupiga mboka kwa shake yake, na vile alicheki hiyo mraia hapo katikati ya jiji, aliuliza, rada, kwani mmetukaza wapi na mnaisha wapi? Akadesha, tumetoka Bethlehem huko Juda na tunaishia huko maocha za binatambulika kama Ephraim penye naishi. Nimekuwa huko Bethlehem, lakini saizi naishia maskani ya Sagodi. Lakini hakuna mori ametuweliki kwake tukeshe huko. Tuko na manyaru za punda na dishi yetu wenyewe. So mimi ngoko wa kwangu na mtongo wa mkono hakuna saratra kupeleka. Mmekaribishwa kwangu, huo mzali daisha. Nitawai chochote mnadai, kenye msifanye ni kudoza hapa nje. So huo mzae akacheza na rada na kuwapeleka mtaa kwake. Akalisha punda zao, na after hiyo mraeli ilikuwa imetulia, ishatulia kupiga shawa nini, wakawaiwa mdishi wa sosi. Lakini vile walikuwa wanajienjoy, mabani wa hiyo mtaa walitokea kwa scene na kusaraundio keja. Wakataja huo mzae wakidaisha, oya Morio, ebu leta boy wako kwako hapa nje tumsese. Huo mzae wa keja akagonjei akiwachapia, niaje majamaa, msikio atiaji. Huo boy ni mgeni wangu, msifanye ufala. Cheki, nitawai mtoi wangu mmoja mdem, vajo na maid wake. Nitawaleta hapa nje muwasese, muwafanye chochote mnadai, lakini msifanye hiyo ufala kwa huyu mgeni wangu. Lakini ama Morio wako idhaa hiyo riba yake. So huo Morio akatuma poko wake nje. No, I have to change this word because initially I thought that the word for concubine was poko, but poko is more of like prostitute, so I not change this part. So huo Morio akatuma klande wake nje kwa hao mabani, and then I don't know, I couldn't remember the word for rape in Sheng. Wakamrape na kumsese usiku mzima na wakamwachilia mangware, na huyo ngoko akarudi mtaa. So yeah.
Asante sana. I think Felix, that was really good. Yeah. So guys, you can see it's decision making. It's decision making. And let me also say that the goal should always be to produce quality translation. You just produce a quality translation. And you don't get quality unless you do it over and over again. So unaona hata Felix anasema hii nitabadilisha. Paka mwenyewe utosheke kabisa useme now I can release this. You know? So it is really constant going back, seeking clarification and so forth and so on. So I think you guys have done a fantastic job. Give yourselves a clap. Good job, good job, good job.